Well, hello, everyone that's tuning in. Welcome to, I guess, the first real day of the NFL offseason. My God. What happened today? Jesus Christ. I know this is not the first day of the offseason, but good Lord. Where's the fire? It seemed like everyone and their mom signed a team, or I guess signed a good player, except for the Cowboys. That's, well, they didn't do shit. I'm gonna break this down best I can, just because there's a lot of moves that were made, and they're not all that significant. Some are major significance, some are relative significance. I'm gonna do the best I can to sort of summarize them as well as give you my analysis on the moves. And by the way, there's a lot of decor in the background. You probably see a Garoppolo jersey staring you into your soul. I'm a Niners fan, but aside from Cowboy slander, I'm gonna keep it pretty, free of bias. That's not true. There's gonna be bias throughout. I'm gonna do my best to just give you what I know. Okay, so right off the bat, obviously 2 days ago, I don't know if it was 2 days ago or yesterday, Russell Wilson signed with the Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now in Schittsburg with Russell Wilson. I don't know how bad of a move that was, to be honest. I think it's of the more lackluster of the bunch I'm about to list. It doesn't fire me up if I'm a Steelers fan, to be honest. I'm not motivated even more for August to come with Russell Wilson. I mean, what was Denver so bad, like, of a surrounding cast outside of Russ? Was it so awful? Like, was Sean Payton that horrible of a coach? Was Cortland Sutton? Was Jerry Jeudy? Were they just that terrible that Russ needed more help? No, I think we're looking at the eclipse of Russell Wilson's greatest years. I think those are behind him. I'm really not sold on the move. In fact, if I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm pretty let down. And this is not just because you got Russell Wilson. This is because last year, I should say last August, you were fully erect about Kenny Pickett. Like, he was the messiah of Pittsburgh. He had a decent rookie year as far as rookie years go. He didn't do anything spectacular. Threw a ton of picks. Let his balls hang all the time, confident as hell, but, like, what did he really do? Not much. Had a phenomenal preseason. Woo! Big deal. Beat third and fourth stringers, who, by the way, have resumes at the ready for insurance companies and real estate firms. Should these backup quarterbacks don't get the role as the third string NFL quarterback, they're going to go work for Goldman Sachs or Colliers. So Kenny Pickett destroyed those guys in comparison in the preseason. Colin Cowherd, everyone on television, just starts sucking the shaft. And then he goes and lays an egg week 1 against the Niners and just constantly eats it each week. And it seems like they've completely moved off of him. You don't get Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal if you're, preserving your guy. You do that because you need a plan B and C. Because Mason Rudolph, let's face it, Rudolph's not saving Christmas this year or next year or any year. What you see is what you get. He is very much a pumpkin who, honestly, the best memory of Mason Rudolph that I have is him getting the living Christ beaten out of him almost with a helmet by Garrett, Myles Garrett. So Wilson, Steelers, not that exciting. Mac Jones, this is somewhat exciting. He is now going to be on the Jaguars bench. He's not going to start over Trevor Lawrence. Like, the trade, by the way, the trade graphic I saw on Bleacher Report was insane. It was Mac Jones looking chiseled and just heroic and, God almighty, sculpted out of clay. Did we forget about the 30 to 40 pounds of pure cookie baby fat? I wish I could show you the photo. It's awful in terms of showing you, fabulous if you're marketing him, fabulous if Bleacher Report and his PR team feel like that. Terrific work. But if that's not the case, you just illustrated a titan, and this guy's a child. I've never been a Mac Jones guy. In fact, I am so happy that the Niners got Trey Lance over Mac Jones because that whole saga gave us Brock Purdy. If we get Mac Jones with the pick, I don't know if we're getting Purdy. I don't know how the whole universe and alternate futures work like that. I don't think we would have gotten Brock Purdy, and I'm happy with Brock Purdy. I also know that if we would have had Mac Jones, he would have shown the exact same promise he's shown in New England, maybe a little bit more success in Shanahan's system, but we'd be like year 3, year 4 on Mac Jones, who's just a younger Garoppolo, less good looking, depending on who you ask. So Mac Jones is now a Jag. Who cares? Big trade or big move is Barkley to the Giants. He went from New York to Philly in division. Wow. That's crazy. I don't know how I feel about that. I think I want to side with the players and say, oh, it's not that deep. Like at the end of the day, this guy's a running back in the NFL. He's getting hit every single play. He's in a car accident, literally. Like in 10 years, we won't care about this move unless you're a diehard Giants or Philly guy. We won't care about this. In 10 years, his knees are going to be so shot. There's going to be nothing to scan when he goes to the doctor. It's just like it's like de-earthed soil. There's nothing to grow. My point is, I have sympathy for NFL players who leave teams because they're not getting paid enough. Because when you look at the NBA and the MLB, they're getting these checks that are just ridiculous. And I don't know if you could say that they're worth it, but they are. That's the nature of the league. They are getting huge checks. But unlike the NFL, MLB and NBA players, they can play for longer, and they're not going to die from the effects of the league at 50. Most likely not. You really shouldn't. NFL players, it is proven. CTE is real. And it's kind of a pay me while I'm here, let my family live when I'm gone kind of a thing. Like generational wealth is something a lot of these guys never had and can create. And it's a big deal. I've always been siding with the players. So when Saquon wants to get his, go for it. Also, by the way, fuck the Giants and the Eagles. Like, both those organizations, who cares? Like, I know they're supposed to be rivals. This is not a rivalry right now. Like, the Giants need to be significantly better. He was carrying the Giants. They were excited about Tommy DeVito for 4 weeks last year, and then it's back to Danny Dimes, right? There's nothing really that captivating in New York. And if you're just going to keep feeding Saquon the rock, and every play he could break his leg because, well, let's face it, playing at MetLife is hell. And that whole team seems to revolve simply around him. So I have no problem with it. I know it is a rivalry to those people in the NFC East and their fans. Is it really a rivalry? It's just big brother killing little brother right now. And some of the players on little brother want to, be relevant. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait to see where he ends up on sort of the fantasy projections and all that stuff. Tony Pollard signing with the Titans. This is big because the underlying implications is that, well, there's supposed to be another running back already there named Derrick Henry. Well, if Tony Pollard signing a 3-year deal with Tennessee, you're assuming that Derrick Henry's head is definitely elsewhere. But where would he go? Would he go to the Cowboys now that they have a clear vacancy for running back? Oh, God, that'd be scary. That would be scary. Derrick Henry in a Cowboys uniform, that would terrify me just a little bit. Like, I'm very anti-Cowboy on this show, as you can guess by the opening line. But I will say this. If they have a guy like Derrick Henry, that's tough. Like 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s, those are automatic now. They've always been known for their offensive line. I just don't know how many of those you're going to beat. Right? Like, you could stuff them best you can. 3rd and 2, 2nd and 2, but like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, they're going to get 80% of those. And in this league, they're going for it on 4th down now. So Oh, that scares the shit out of me. Derrick Henry in a Cowboys uniform, that would be tough. I really hope that's not the case. There's a couple other teams that have clear vacancies for running back. Like the Packers now with Josh Jacobs, that's kind of scary. I'm saying scary as a Niners because like Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, that could be troublesome. I don't. Yeah, I was never like I like Aaron Jones, but like I never saw Aaron Jones as like that. It's kind of like what the Niners did with, holy hell, Mostert, Raheem Mostert. Remember when they got rid of Mostert and everyone just lost their minds? And then all of a sudden, Elijah Mitchell is taller, stronger, maybe even faster, maybe. And it's like, oh, okay. And then we're like, well, we need Elijah Mitchell. What would we ever do without Mitchell? After we already thought that about Mostert, and then we got fucking McCaffrey. Like, I feel like running backs are very interchangeable. I still think they should be paid just because of the nature of their position. It's such a demanding and physically impairing job. But the truth of the matter is that it is interchangeable. So my opinion on how they should be paid is it's a requirement. Like they should meet some standard, and that should never take a pay cut. Should never be meddled with, nothing, because those are the guys that are going to get the health impacts, and I think that's not fair. But they're also interchangeable, so that's the compromise. Yes, you're interchangeable, but you're going to get paid. But they would never do that because why would you reward someone for hard work in this country? That's not an agenda. I'm just pissed off about nothing. Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so Brian Burns is now a Giant. That's a concern. If the Giants were good, they're not good, and I don't think Dable's the guy. I don't buy it. I like the idea that they're trying, and not getting Barkley obviously is them swinging and missing, but trying nonetheless. That was a big sign. Burns could have been a great Niner. It's too bad. There's a couple of guys that could have been great Niners, honestly, but Austin Eckler is now a Commander. That's a big deal. Got Dan Quinn as a new coach. Who are they going to get in the draft? I don't know. I think all signs point towards moving off of Sam Howell. And by the way, I was a diehard fan of Sam Howell at the beginning of the year. I thought the dude's a dog. He was leading the league in multiple stats, yards, attempts. Like, he was hucking it. And it seemed like Brian Bieniemy was, like, allowing that. That obviously just didn't work, right? That's very clear. He's at UCLA now, and Ron Rivera is gone. So they're draining the swamp for sure. It depends on who they get in the draft before I recognize them as a real threat in the NFC. It takes a while to get a team to be good in the NFL. Like, you can't just, like, it took Shanahan a couple years. They were stylish for sure. And Kittle got to develop with Nick Mullins in the early Shanahan years, but like, I guess I'm just happy that Austin Eckler is not in the NFC West, i.e. the Rams. I don't care if he's in Seattle. Seattle is just so not on my radar. The Rams scare me. The Rams are always one or two players away from being a legitimate Super Bowl threat. If they clean up their defense, I know they just got rid of Raheem Morris, their DC, but if they get their defense in track and Stafford can stay healthy, fuck. I mean, they were a couple bad calls away from beating the Lions. And if they beat the Lions, they beat the Bucks. I think they beat the Bucks. It's Niners-Rams NFC Championship. Again, I still think we have them, but I just rather not deal with that. That's my whole thing. I'm very, very, very fearful of Stafford. I think Stafford is. I think he's sweet. Here's who I'm not fearful of. Kirk Cousins. Guess what? He's a Falcon. You know what that means? He'll now just lose primetime games in Atlanta. Like, it drives me insane. The amount of love this guy got for different reasons is one thing. And if you want to like him because he's a good Christian and he's a good guy, he's a family man, he's quirky, he's odd, great commercial guy. Big Kirko says this. Where's the chain? That's fine. I got some shit in my eye. But this guy is not. Shoot. This guy's not good. Hey, there he is.
Hey.
K-Win in the flesh.
What's going on?
How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You look good. Just getting off work?
Yeah. Just took a little shower. I'm fresh. Caught up on the NFL action from today.
Oh, amazing. We're just right in the middle of like dissecting this day. I'm at Kirk Cousins right now. I was just in the middle of saying how I'm not concerned whatsoever about the Falcons because now it's Kirk Cousins goes from losing primetime games in Minnesota to losing primetime games in Atlanta. So there you have it. It doesn't really get on my radar. What about you? How do you feel about that move?
I love it from a fantasy football perspective because I've been waiting for Pitts and Robinson and all of those young, talented receivers to get going. Now, can that translate into wins in the NFL? Yeah, but playoffs, I'm not scared of them. But it's exciting for fantasy football, and it's exciting for the Falcons because I think the franchises need a steady veteran quarterback who can help them out. Because at this point, over the last couple of years, it was getting pretty bad in Atlanta, and the problem was the quarterback.
Were you ever an Arthur Smith guy?
Early on, 2 years ago, I was like, this guy's great. He's running the ball. He's got Cordell Patterson. Like, he's doing all this stuff. Then he got Bijan and then just didn't do anything, didn't use him, and he was saving him for the second half, and they were already out of the playoffs for the late end of the season, and then it just slowly started to kind of eat away at his credibility, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm so with you. I read a tweet earlier this year that said, for anyone that's not a Falcons fan, let's put this in terms that everyone can understand. If Arthur Smith was your coach in the Niners situation, it would be as if he benched McCaffrey and Debo every game for sport and just ran jet sweeps with Juwan Jennings and Elijah Mitchell off the bench. And sometimes they'd roll in fullback play with Juszczyk. Like, I can't even imagine what Falcons fans are going through every draft because they've got some dogs like Pitts and Bijan. And whether it's Desmond Ridder literally throwing it into the dirt and fumbling because he has to meet quota of fumbles, or just Arthur Smith being an absolute dunce and shitting down his pants when he has like the keys of the kingdom and just not using them. I feel for that franchise, but I also like don't care about Atlanta. It's like, you know, it's so
and they're in the South, so what's mind-blowing is they have a chance to make the playoffs because of that division, and he still didn't use his best assets or players to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, but you and I were both so not concerned about that division. Like, we were thinking about Dallas, oddly enough, even though they got zapped in the first round. We were concerned. I was concerned about the Lions. I was really worried about the Lions even before the matchup because I just figured we just match up so well with them. It's almost like the same team. I didn't see them make any moves, by the way. Did you?
Not yet. I haven't seen them make any moves as well. I think they're going to pretty much stand pat and just rely on their stars, their young stars taking the next step forward with Laporta, Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and what's the running back? I'm slipping on his name right now.
It's not Swift. Yeah, it's well, they got the two, right? They got the speedster Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs from Bama.
Yeah, he's
in
great.
Montgomery.
And Monty. Yeah, Monty. God, remember that like third play in the NFC Champ, and it was just like Gibbs of the house, like 55 yards. I was like, this Eminem's flipping people off. I was like, this is going to be a quick game, isn't it?
Yeah, and then they had Jameson Williams. I'm like, these guys look like they're more explosive than the Niners on offense. In the first half, that's what they look like.
Yeah. No, that was crazy. Are you a Goff guy?
I try to pull for him because he's a Bay Area guy, went to Burn Catholic, went to Cal. I think he's a very good quarterback, but he's by no means elite. And I do think he's really good with the Lions and the weapons that he has around him. So I want to pull for him, but it just seems like every year there may be someone that's out there that could potentially do the job better than he can.
He does pumpkin quite a bit. Like for every game that he has like his signature Goff 340, 4 touchdowns in the dome, 10 a.m. against the Titans. You didn't even see it unless it was on Red Zone, and he blew up your fantasy. He has that 189 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 6 sacks allowed kind of a game where you're just like, there it is. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was part of the reason why the Rams moved away from him.
Yeah, I was actually when I saw that way back when, and he got shipped to Detroit. It was so comical because Detroit for the longest time has always been the place to die. Like it's an elephant graveyard of just. I mean, Detroit, even the Pistons too, for that matter. Like I don't want to throw the Tigers in there. I know that we played them in the World Series, but like it seems so. Like it was a death sentence, a career death sentence for Goff. And I love how he turned it around. And now he's the man. And Detroit loves him. He's a Motor City guy now. It's pretty sick.
I thought they were going to trade for him, play him 1 year, and then draft his replacement. And then just kind of like write him off in the sunset. But he kept fighting. He kept playing. He kept winning. And then now Detroit's his city.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool. I'm a little concerned about the Packers. While we stay in that division, I think, for me, I never bought into the Jordan Love is the next coming of Jesus Christ, like everyone on television did. But I do think they're significantly better with Josh Jacobs. And I think you give Matt LaFleur, who is very much a quarterback whisperer, especially like as of late, you give him a little bit more time to develop that team. I don't know. The Packers,
they scare me.
Yeah.
Because they got Jacobs. Yeah. Say what you want about Love, but he played well at the end of the season. He got the Packers the playoff. Christian Watson was hurt most of the year. Right. Dobbs was in and out of the lineup. They've got Jaden Reed. They've got the tight end from Ohio State, I believe, Oregon State. Yeah. Luke Musgrave. Mm-hmm. I'm more scared of the Packers than I am of the Cowboys moving forward.
I totally agree. 100%. And the Cowboys, by the way, were right on schedule. They haven't made a move. Yeah. Nothing. I read a couple of things that there's maybe interest from Derrick Henry to go to the Cowboys now that there's obviously a vacancy at running back. Before you joined, I said that would be a little scary because then 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s, those are automatic. And that's troublesome. You can't beat Derrick Henry 5 times in the game in a 4th and 1. Like there's going to be multiple times that you have to step up and make a play. Warner and Greenlaw, when he gets back, can only do so much against, quite frankly, I think the best running back, the most powerful running back in the NFL right now. Not the best, most powerful.
Everyone talks about the tush push being unstoppable, but Derrick Henry on a 4th and 1 or 4th and inches is pretty much unstoppable. Right. My hope, because we're both Niners fans, I heard rumors that Derrick Henry could look at signing with the Ravens. I would love that. Get him out of the Cowboys.
Out of my division, out of the conference. I don't want to even sniff him until maybe a Super Bowl. I'm with you.
And then the other running back, I don't know if he's signed because everything's moving so quick today, is Aaron Jones. They're saying maybe Dallas or Houston. I'm hoping he goes to Houston to replace Devin Singletary. I don't want the Cowboys to get anything.
I bet you, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, Stroud's kind of him, and Jones is pretty young still. And so that whole team is like, everyone's like 23. The coach is in his 30s. It wouldn't surprise me if Jones goes to Houston. You just mentioned a team that I really think we need to talk about is Philly. So Saquon now is obviously an Eagle, and you just touched on a good point. Saquon is just going to spend the next year just putting his helmet up Jalen Hurts' ass, taking it into the end zone. Like, does he know how that offense runs? Does he? This is not like a hand the ball off kind of thing. This is just make sure you got the strong gloves that you're just going to press on some thigh.
Yeah, watch some of that USC Notre Dame game, the Bush push, when Reggie's pushing Matt Leinart, because he's going to be doing a lot of that in Philly. But no, I was thinking about this move. On paper, I think it looks great. Eagles are outstanding, but that's why we play the game. The Eagles have so much to figure out. Like 2 years ago, they were a running team. This past year, they threw the ball more because A.J. Brown got so upset. So, like, what is the offensive identity of their team, and how can they feed so many people? What I love about the Niners, and oh, yeah, I'm a homer. I'm a Niners fan. But they're all selfless, right? Like Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, they just go out there and play. The Eagles, if they're not getting the ball, they're having an issue with that.
Yeah, there's a
and we're only talking about the offense. We're even talking about their defense, which was horrible and couldn't stop the Cardinals or even the Buccaneers in the playoffs. I don't know if the Eagles can put it together.
I had the Bucs money line that game, by the way.
Oh, nice bet.
It was pretty much my favorite bet of that weekend. I looked at that. And even while the AJ Brown shit was going on, that he was, I guess, not playing. He deleted his Twitter. It just, that was such an easy, like, set it and forget it. Just bet on Tampa. It was so easy to get behind Baker Mayfield that game. The guy was just, he was hungrier than hell. And by the way, he just signed $100 million deal with Tampa.
Yeah,
that is another comeback story like Goff that I am so pro. I think that's great.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. Have you talked about Justin Fields yet?
No. And that's, that was actually one of my next things is he's obviously not going to Atlanta.
Nope.
And the media spent, at least his party, the Fields party, spent a great chunk of the weekend psyching everyone up for a possible reunion between Fields and the state of Georgia. Is there another football team in Georgia that I'm missing, or is it just Atlanta and that's it, right? It's just Atlanta.
That's it. Yeah.
So what the hell was the whole he's coming home thing? Did that just go completely in flames?
I think it was optimistic hope, but the market's kind of drying up. Like, look at the teams and the moves. Like, his suitors were potentially Pittsburgh. Yep. Russ is there.
Yep.
The Falcons, Cousins is there.
Yep.
The Raiders, they decided to sign Gardner Minshew, a backup, and have him and Aiden O'Connell compete for the job rather than get Fields.
I also think the Raiders aren't done. I think, like, if a guy like Penix falls in the draft, which he won't. He had such a good combine, and all those clips of him in the hotel just throwing ropes. Like, he's the guy. You can't zip line the ball any better. I mean, he's so sharp, and I think his only turnoff to scouts and to the sighted community is that he's a lefty. It just looks odd. But you saw that clip where if you invert it and in post production and just make everything look backwards, him as a righty is like the best throw you've ever seen in your life.
I would love to see him get drafted by the Vikings. I think they have the 11th pick. Pair him with JJ and Addison and Hawkinson. I think if you're like the 4th or 5th quarterback taken, I think you could potentially go to the Vikings, which would be a good situation. You've got O'Connell, who's an offensive-minded coach. So I would love Penix to end up there.
You're assuming that those guys, especially specifically Jay Jettis, is going to stick around. Like, he might, like, you really have to get him on board in the draft room, literally, to say, like, by the way, we're going to get Penix.
He would have to be like, that's my guy, draft him. And they're like, okay, we're going to get JJ McCarthy.
Exactly. And yeah, are there any guys in the draft that stand out to you that we haven't talked about enough? Like, obviously it's Caleb 1 and like, don't overthink it. Just do it. But May 2, does that seem solid to you, or are you kind of,
I hear it's a toss up between Daniels and May.
Yeah.
So I think those will be the quarterbacks 2 and 3 taken. I don't know in which order.
Yeah.
But I was watching something, I think it was on Colin Cowherd today, and they talked about the 2021 QB draft class. And so there's supposed to be 5 studs, right? Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance,
Zach Wilson,
Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields. And so out of all those, so far, Trevor's been the only one that's sticking. All the other guys are bench or have been traded. And so, like, with this class, everyone's talking about 5 or 6 quarterbacks. There may only be one that sticks, and the others guys are just kind of like biding time until they get benched or traded.
Yeah, it's so that group of 5 guys from the 2021 draft, there's one playoff win.
Yeah.
And it's the Jags. And they that
against the
unbelievable-
Chargers where they came
Right.
from behind
Yes. So
against
they're
your boy
almost,
Staley.
you know me. I'm still on Staley watch. It's I mean, as soon as he makes, when he made the move, it was the league will adjust. It's Staley versus everyone. That guy. Yeah, Staley's what a miserable coach. I mean, he really had so many weapons, and he was supposed to be this defensive guru, and allowed the most points in the league. And on his deathbed in the Chargers, gave up 63 points to Aiden O'Connell. What a pumpkin!
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, super rough. I do like I love Harbaugh. Love Harbaugh in the Chargers, and I'm so happy he's not in the NFC. I still think he could beat the Niners any way possible. There's probably a little bitterness there for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, and then lastly, and then I can let you go because I know you've been so kind to give me your time tonight. Niners got Leonard Floyd. And I don't know if you know much about him. I certainly didn't until I looked into it. He's the man that broke Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Wow.
That's the guy. Yeah. So he's the one that applied the pressure and forced that Achilles to snap.
Ooh.
That was Floyd. I'm a little bummed because there was rumblings that we were going to get a bigger fish.
Yeah.
Perhaps Hunter from the Vikings. I saw that tweet was sent out that all these Niner accounts were putting it out there saying it's official, and then they were instantly deleted. So yeah, that's I got a little sad today when I saw that wasn't the case. And so now it's like, all right, are we trying to go after Bosa's older brother? Are we going to make a move to do whatever we can to keep Ayuk? I don't know. Jim. I don't know.
I think because of the cap space and so because we're so constrained, I don't think there's going to be any big like splashes in free agency.
Right.
Like if you think about what the Niners need, I mean, you can always use offensive line help, maybe on the right side.
Right.
The defensive line, the run game, we got exposed last year. And then you mentioned Ayuk because he's a free agent, I think, after next year. And he's going to be expecting a big payday. So I think the Niners aren't going to do a lot in free agency. I think they're just going to draft young players. And what they're doing is they're asking their older players to restructure. That's why Armstead is gone. He wouldn't restructure.
Yeah.
I read somewhere where Juszczyk and Fred Warner, I think, are thinking about restructuring.
So Warner just restructured. Like
okay, he did.
Ago.
All right.
Yeah, he restructured. And I think Juszczyk will probably do it considering what he means to the Bay Area, and his wife is now like a big face in NFL merchandising. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they have a conversation like, we don't need the money. Like, let's just get a ring. We got a great life. I mean, because like they're so integrated into San Francisco now. Like that's like they are 40. Like I don't think they want to go just like deroute and go to friggin' Green Bay or Charlotte.
I don't think so.
No, you gotta. I mean, think about if tomorrow I said, hey, by the way, hey, you and your wife, you guys are off to Portland, or excuse me, Portland for a second. You get bought out by Chicago. Oh, whoops, sorry, my mistake. You're going to Raleigh. Like that would suck.
I would restructure my no filter deal and give up some options.
Yeah,
I give back my signing bonus to no filter.
It would be a vet minimum for sure. Good
I did have a quick Justin Fields take.
Yes, let's hear it.
So the Bears are in trouble, right? The market is drying up. Mac Jones got traded for a 6th round pick. Trey Lance got traded for a 4th round pick.
Yes.
The Bears are stuck with 2 really bad options, either keeping him or trading him for barely nothing. And then why would you keep him when Caleb Williams is potentially your quarterback of the future? So it reminded me of 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis, when all those houses and all those assets went belly up and went under. The Bears should foreclose on Justin Fields and let someone else take ownership because there's no value in that asset anymore.
Wow. Look at this Big Short reference. My God. 2008. I was playing Just Dance 3 in yeah.
How were your dance moves?
The best. Rah Rah Rasputin, I had that on lock. I had no idea the kind of stress and pain I'm sure my parents went through every night. I'm just la 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 in the garage. That's hilarious. That Fields is literally, I mean, Mac Jones he's literally he's Jags bench now. Like the
Yeah.
trade was to be on the bench. Fields is inching towards there unless something crazy happens with Washington. And I don't know if Quinn maybe sees something in Fields and doesn't want to have the headache of dealing with, like, maybe Dan Quinn's like, no, the guy is Caleb. And if you don't get Caleb, it's not May, it's not Jalen, and maybe it's not Penix. I believe it's Penix is the truth. I think Caleb's the truth. I don't know shit about May. I think McCarthy is athletic and obviously smart, but there wasn't any. He had one throw that blew me away. It was in the Rose Bowl when they screwed up like that reverse and he threw it on the run after a bobbled like double pass. That to me was like, okay, this guy's an unbelievable athlete. I don't know if he's like if that's going to translate in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think Penix can play. Dog. Caleb, goated. I wouldn't mind seeing the Bears completely get rid of Fields and just let's get this Caleb show on the road. Like that would be pretty cool. I think he could play today.
I mean, that's what they're going to have to do because if they keep him, like they're not going to play Fields over Caleb, and then Fields is on your bench, then that asset has just gotten even worse. They might have to cut him. Here's the hot take. They might have to release him.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many teams now that could realistically even pitch for him. Like how many teams don't have a quarterback right now? And the Raiders just got Gardner. That was who I thought was going to be the move is like, you know, because maybe the Raiders get Fields and then draft like Penix. And it's like, hey, if Fields doesn't work out, boom, we got the rookie. No, they're just going to do that with Gardner. The Raiders are probably going to get one of those studs I mentioned.
There's only 3 teams that I can think of. So don't at me out there.
Yeah.
Broncos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have Jared Stenham.
Ugh.
The Vikings, I don't know what they're going to do now. And Tennessee Titans have a linebacker named Will Levis behind center playing quarterback. Like those are the 3 teams that could potentially use them. But to wrap this all up, I think teams value the quarterbacks in the draft more than Justin Fields, and that's why they're not trading him for him.
Yeah, I see that. I like Levis. Personally, I think Levis
he's solid.
He's gritty. Yeah, he's solid. I think he's crazy for putting mayo in his coffee. That's just sociopathic tendencies. But I guess you leave his dietary situation aside. I think he could be something. And they have a new guy coming in Tennessee, and maybe Vrabel wasn't like the best play. I don't know how that all went down, but K-Win, thank you very much for coming on today. I appreciate your time as always, and your brilliant analytics and the references to The Big Short. My God, that's a side of intelligence I'll never have.
Well, thank you for coming on. It just came to me. I got inspired through your inspiration. So thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. Oh, we got to give a shout out to Big Ben. And he said, show Gardner some love. Ben Martin, I think Gardner is very much a pawn in the Raiders and Mark Davis in their chess match. I think Gardner, the best days are definitely when he was in the PNW, the Pacific Northwest. And that is still very much your domain. So I'm not going to trash that territory, but don't expect much from Gardner. Really, no. Just it's a placeholder. It's a substitute teacher until the English teacher gets back from being pregnant. That's what the situation is in Las Vegas right now. And I think the baby is Penix. That's my call.
I love it. Penix. Big Ben came back from a weekend of pickleball and watching Phoenix Suns basketball. So I think he's with the wife and the kid. He's got to spend that family time because he had a little boys' weekend this past weekend.
Oh, yeah, he's got to be put on ice. It's like he's getting the LeBron James treatment right now from Savannah.
Yes.
That's great. All right. Well, K-Win, thanks for hopping on. To all my loyal listeners who decided to randomly show up at 6:45 Pacific time on a Monday night, I had to get this off my chest. I had to talk about the free agency and the offseason stuff. Thank you for listening, folks. Have a great rest of your night and week.